Good morning, and thank you again for joining us this morning. This is our first quarter luncheon. We almost ran out of quarter before we got to the luncheon, but thank you for being here with us this morning. At this time, as we like to do, we would like to recognize all the elected officials in the room. So if you would stand up and be recognized. If you are an elected official, we appreciate your time and energy for being here. I was looking for the mayor. There you are. I see you back there. So thank you again for coming and being with us. This could not be accomplished without all of our invested supporters, so we want to say thank you. A special thank you to Kim Evans at Aon Hospitality Group. They have several very nice hotels throughout the region and Fleming Island and in other parts of the county, so we appreciate their efforts. We also want to thank Brass Rounds. How many stopped and got a mocktail at the cattle trailer? So, we thought we would do something a little bit different in honor of being out at the fairgrounds. That is also available for private party rentals. Mocktails are optional. So if you're interested in that, please let us know and we will pass on that contact for you. I would also like to make a special note of our regional partners who are here with us today. We have a group from Jack's USA that is here. Without them, we could not do a substantial amount of the work that we accomplished for Clay County. So thank you for the partners from Jack's USA for being with us. Also, Daryl Register with the Clay County Chamber of Economic Development is here with us today. Also, Bruce Ferguson, who is Clay County based, but his organization with Career Source is a definite partner for what we do in the county. John Cantrell, I saw you earlier. Where'd you end up? John Cantrell with the Chamber, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I know you have a busy schedule, but thank you for taking the time. And then, of course, Jacksonville Marine. It's always kind of neat to have a boat when we do something like this. So if you got a chance, they've got a few of them. They would like to be yours. So if you have a chance, please stop by and take a look. We appreciate our investors doing that. At this time, I would like to introduce our keynote sponsor for today's event. Florida Power and Light is a tremendous partner for everything we do in Clay County. Even though they only currently support a small sliver of the county as far as power distribution, they are a key player in what we do from an economic development point of view, and we greatly appreciate their support. They are today's title sponsor for the speaker, and with that, I would like to introduce Mr. Jim Bush with Florida Power and Light as he updates us on FPL.
Thank you, Crawford. Innovation. When you think of FPL, I know most people think about power, but we also want you to think about innovation, which includes renewable energy, smart grids, everything else that comes with serving our customers. Good afternoon, my name is Jim Bush. I'm Director of Florida Power and Light. I'd like to also introduce the colleagues that have joined me here today from FPL. We have Carol Saviak, we have Heather Reese, and Mike DeHaven. I also wanted to thank the Clay Economic Development Corporation, especially Crawford and Laura, for all that they do and the support that they provide to the county and helping the county grow and prosper. I've known both Crawford and Laura for quite a while, and I will tell you that they are tremendous professionals with their dedication and the talents that they have, and I think we're all very fortunate to have you represent our county. So thank you for that. So our mission at FPL is to continue to move forward in our journey as delivering America's best energy value for our customers. That's energy that is already cleaner than the national average, and we're continuing to try to diversify our fuel mix so we're not as dependent on any specific fuel source. So continuing to diversify. Also reliability that is among the best in the nation, as well as bills that are increasingly lower cost, or the lowest price point that we can for our customers. Clay County has been a great partner for FPL in our energy journey. There are three utility-scale solar sites already in operation in Clay County. So that, to put that in context, that's 40, they generate enough for about 45,000 homes of power, while at the same time removing about 36,000 cars from the road each year. These solar facilities are great for the tax revenue locally, but they're much more than that. They're also job creators, and I'm very proud to say that FPL bases our solar energy operations center right here in Clay County at Anita Solar. That's where our leaders and engineers who cover all of Northeast Florida, all those yellow dots that you see in Northeast Florida, the operations is based right here in Clay County. So Clay has just been an amazing partner for FPL. This is a picture of our newest site, which is just a couple of miles down the road along Hardworth Road, and it is the Terrell Creek Solar Energy Center, and it was just commissioned at the end of the first quarter of this year. As you can see, it's in a remote area. It sits next to the Terrell Creek Hunt Club, and the panels just sit next to the trees as they idly collect and absorb the energy from the sun. So with that, I just want to conclude that at FPL, we have the duty of serving our customers every day. We also have a responsibility to serve the customers of tomorrow, to plan to serve the generations that are coming to Florida. And we know that we always have to look ahead. Florida is one of the fastest growing states in the nation, and some have heard that we have about 1,000 new residents coming to Florida each day. We're also on the front line for climate change. We're already seeing that with more severe and frequent weather events. The bottom line is that we are never satisfied. We always have to continue to find new ways to ensure that we're adding value for our customers. It's what our customers expect of us, and it's what they deserve. So thank you for having us today, and I want to thank each and every one of you for helping make our region, Northeast Florida, one of the best places, in my opinion, in the world to live and to work. So thanks so much.
All right, fun facts. This is kind of like church. You got to open the Bible, so we got to do some economic development fun facts, so make sure it's an official meeting for us. So just as a heads up, quick data, Clay County's unemployment rate actually rose last month to a whopping 3.3%. So that compares to the state at 3.1% and the U.S. total at 4.1%. So we're still ahead of the crowd. So if you're still looking for employees, keep looking, because we're working hard to create that opportunity for you. Also, next week, we will be doing a groundbreaking with IKO. IKO is the shingle roofing manufacturing plant that we announced about 6 months ago. They are out on 301 and 218. Many of you know where the West Fraser lumberyard is. They're immediately north of the lumberyard. It's $270+ million capital investment into Clay County. That's a huge needle mover for the county. Their employment should push 160 to 175 once they're in full employment up there. The facility should take about 1.5 to 2 years for their phase 1. They'll start phase 2 during that period and a phase 3 during that period. So we're excited about their decision to join us in Clay County. Today's lunch will be a buffet. It's a little bit different than full plating, so it will be a buffet. That is from Brightline Catering. Laura will be in charge of letting your tables go one by one, because she said I really screwed up last time. So everybody kind of bumped up at the table all at one time. So with that, will you join me? Will you rise? Let's have a blessing, and let's say the pledge, and we will release the All right, let's pray. Well, Father, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for the beauty, the season, Lord God. We thank you for your hand of creation, Lord. We thank you for what you've done for us, Lord God, for your hand upon us, Lord. We thank you for this time, for this community, and for this fellowship. In Jesus' name, amen. If you'll join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If you would will be seated and Laura will come by your table. So thank you again for coming this morning. We are, I asked Corey if he'd like me to read all his bios, so he said do the shortened version of it. So Corey Saban is our guest speaker. A number of us heard him a couple of months ago in a presentation. Corey, just to give you a little background, is Emmy-nominated and Associated Press award-winning TV journalist here with us today. Corey's media career encompasses interviews with the world's most respected, recognized figures, from presidents to Pulitzer Prize winners. Corey's an accomplished speaker with 15 years, covering a range of stories over that time, including news through sports. Corey currently does speaking on how to tell your why. Why do you do what you do, and why does your organization do what it does? And we felt like this would be he would be a great, interesting speaker for our community because of all the business investment into the community, and how do we sell your company, and how do we sell Clay County. So with that, let me introduce Corey Saban to come and speak to us, and we want to give him as much time as possible this morning.
Well, thank you so much for having me. How's everybody doing today? First and foremost, show of hands, how many of you watch the news? If you think about it, the news is the only place that starts off with the words good evening and then spends 30 minutes telling you why it's not. Now, I spent 15 plus years in the news, and what we learn is that this remote control is a weapon. If you don't like what the person says on the news, bam, you change the channel and you're gone. So you have to learn how to storytell. Today we're going to talk about storytelling, why it's important, as well as culture, team building, and how those all intertwine. So first and foremost, it starts with emotion. Think about the last car you bought. Maybe it was a GMC Acadia. You came into the dealership, and what do they put in the lobby? They put the Denali or the Sierra that's all macked out. And what do? You wander around and you sit in it. And it feels good, doesn't it? And you say to yourself, geez, if I take the kids out of daycare and I stop going to Dunkin' every day, I can afford this car. Now, the bad salesman comes over and says the MSRP is $69.5, Joe, but the good salesman says, how does it feel? Why do we say, how does it feel? Because we move on emotion. Emotion is everything. In the news, we used to say, facts tell, stories sell. So that's me. I'm Corey Saban. I work with teams just on team building, presentation, training, and storytelling. I also do crisis management, and I guess you could say the real crisis is how much hair I've lost since I left TV. I had the pleasure of working at Channel 4 here for a couple of years, so it's really special to be back. So let's think about the 5 emotions that move us, because it's all emotions, and you see your favorite brands doing it. Belonging. Coca-Cola. As parents, we know that Coca-Cola is not a good product to give our kids, right? Coca-Cola contains sugar, fructose, and a chemical that'll take the paint off your car. But yet we all drink it. What does Coca-Cola do? They say, share a Coke, share a smile. And on the back of the cans, there's different emotions. And if you're feeling really happy that day, you get the one with the smile. And if you're feeling a little down, you're like, wow, Coca-Cola gets me. And you grab that can. Then there's trust. We all know brands that we feel trustworthy about. Amazon is one of those brands. How often have you bought something from Amazon and what happened? It wasn't the right product. They'll take it back like that, or oftentimes just say, keep it, and we'll send you something new. Then there's our values. Those are companies like Tom Shoes. I'll buy a pair and give a pair. Bombas, I'll buy a pair of socks, give a pair of socks. Or Patagonia, we're environmentally friendly. Then you've got shame. Shame is another one. Think about those companies that are using shame. Victoria's Secret, the Perfect Body campaign. They showed ridiculously thin women, and they said that was the perfect body. Of course, there was a lot of backlash. And then fear. Does everybody know fear advertising? Anything on Black Friday, fear, trucks, anything along those lines. So your favorite brands have always done that. Anybody fly Southwest Airlines? What do? We're going to dim the lights to make the flight attendants more attractive. Hey, don't leave anything behind unless it's something we may want. But there's one story I just came upon. A gentleman named Frank Johnson was traveling from California to Denver. Frank's grandson was being taken off life support. Frank got to LAX about an hour before his flight, but the security line was crazy. He couldn't get through, and no one seemed to care. He finally got through. With shoes in his hands, he was running down to his gate. He was already 15 minutes late. But to his amazement, they were still there. He made his way down the jetway, and he was out of breath, and he said to the captain who was waiting for him, "Thank you so much." He goes, "Are you Mr. Johnson?" He said, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm sorry for your loss. I want you to know all these people are going to Denver, but we're not going anywhere without you." Wow. Is that not amazing customer service? Think about Apple with their sleek design and it's easy to use, or Nike. What are they selling you at Nike? Not a golf club or a shoe. They're selling you an attitude. Nike backwards is Ekin. We go to storytelling schools with the Ekins where they learn what they're selling. And there is such a thing as storytelling school. Because what do? Do we all have kids and we come home from a busy day at work and we read to our kids, and oftentimes you want to say there were 3 bears, one got the good bed. Love you, good night. But what do your kids do? No, they don't want to be ripped off. You have to tell the whole story because storytelling is how we learn. So think about history. What is it? His story. So I was looking over the website for Green Cove Springs. Anybody from Green Cove Springs here today? Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for coming. Love your town. Love your new facility. So take a look at the website. This brand new facility is pretty awesome, right? No one sure? No? Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So this new facility, so now from a marketing point of view and a story, think about it. We look at the picture and then what? Most of us will spend less than 22 seconds on a website. And this area here is what's called the fold. So below here, most of us won't go. So my advice would be add a call to action to it to create intrigue, fostering friendships. Oh, I like people. Maybe I'll check it out. Building bonds, one smile at a time, where neighbors become family. Just different ideas because those simple call to action lead to your story and tie into your message. And every one of you has a story. Steve Hartman, who you've probably seen on CBS News, is a reporter who throws a dart at the map of the United States. And then he shows up wherever the dart is, and he opens up a phone book, if he can still find one, and he then calls a house that he just points at the number. And whoever answers the phone, that's his profile for that week. So everyone has a story. So the key is for you, think about what you are selling. So right away here in Green Cove Springs, what are we selling? Charm. We're selling every street tells a story. Discover. Why did we use a word like discover or explore? It's powerful. Those words move us. And the same thing is in it for you. Why you? What do you do for a living, sir?
CNH Marine Construction.
Okay, so why should I hire you?
Professionalism and quality of work.
Got it. So think about what he said. Professionalism and quality of work. Think about the word quality. What are our emotions that mostly move us? We want communication. How often do you go somewhere and they don't communicate with you? Yeah, we'll follow up. We want quality. We want professionalism. But what happens? You go to a networking event and you meet a banker and he goes, "I'm a banker." Well, you're a banker. You're more than transactions. You're about relationships, right, Joe?
Absolutely.
Yeah, feel free to steal that. So that's, we have our hospital table over here. What's your differentiator?
We care about the community that we serve.
Expertise meets empathy, right? Cutting edge care, cutting edge compassionate care, state-of-the-art technology, something along those lines. Create that intrigue because we're all a little bit ADD when we're meeting people. And then it comes down to first impressions. Would you let this guy do heart surgery on you? Nobody, huh? Well, he's a doctor. Your first impressions matter. And the same is true for you. Coming back to the website. In my house, we don't know something, we Google it. Is there anybody out there binging it? No. No one's binging it. So you've got to create the engagement. So think about words like we, not I. And I took a screenshot of this one. It's South Florida estate planning lawyer looking for the right Florida attorney, but what's missing? There's no picture. And the first thing people say with an estate planning lawyer is, I don't have an estate. So you've got to dummy it down. I hope you plan today for peace of mind tomorrow. Think about what you do and the why behind it, because it all comes down to the elevator pitch. The concept of it is kind of silly though, right? I mean, think about what you do when you get in an elevator. You're standing there like that, and I keep to myself, and sometimes I'll just look a little bit to the left and right. And then what happens when someone talks to you? What do, Anita? You just kind of keep your head down? You talk back? Well, where were you in the elevator? I was in the elevator the other day, and I heard the Muzak. And I felt really old because the Muzak was 2 songs, Good Vibrations. And then right away I thought, well, geez, that's a good story they're telling. Think about it. Ooh, I love the colorful clothes she wears and the way the sunshine dances on her hair, or something along those lines. Daryl and I are follically challenged. We don't have that issue. We have the same barber. And then after that, they played Big Yellow Taxi. So really all the songs that you grew up with. But think about how your favorite musicians are weaving in the story. And why do I share that with you? Because the networking aspect is so powerful. Not only for you, but the younger people. Because what do? We go somewhere. I say, hi, I'm Corey. And you say?
I'm Nancy.
Hi, I'm Nancy. And I say, Nancy, what do you do?
I'm an office manager.
I'm an office manager. And then the conversation goes like this. All right, Nancy, I'm going to get some barbecue. And it goes like that. So you've got to create the intrigue. Hey, listen, we're in the marine industry. We help you with professionalism and quality in solving your boating needs. Is that about right?
Yes, sir.
All right, I got it. So that's something that you need to create the intrigue and get there, because what happens with your young people? No one wants to network. They don't know how to network. I was working with a client. The kid was like, can't I just text it? And I'm like, well, you actually have to talk to people. That's how relationships work. It's a different world. You can't just text, and getting them to not send the email because of the fear of rejection is pretty terrible. So the next aspect of that is it comes down to your culture. Because think about today's workforce. We have 5 generations in the workforce, and we all do things very differently, right? And doesn't every generation love to pick on the one below them? I'm Gen X, and we pick on the millennials, and the boomers picked on us. So that's the idea. So here are some culture ideas. I was reading this article, and a man owns a coal mine. And he had 640 employees, and his wife says to him one day, honey, we need to talk. Yeah, exactly, right, guys? We're like, uh-oh. I don't like the way our relationship's going. He's like, we've been married 30 years. She says, well, I bought you this book called The 5 Love Languages. Guys, how many of you are reading that book right away? It sits on the nightstand, collects dust. So what happened next? He said, I'm not reading your book. She says, well, good, it's a little 2-minute quiz. He says, I don't want to do your Cosmo quiz, but he does it. And then he realizes his love language is acts of service. He likes when people do things for him. Hers are words of appreciation. That improved their relationship. It was so much so that he did it with all of his employees. And when they came out of the coal mine, he had different stickers. Physical touch, hey, Liam, great job, man, appreciate you. Words of appreciation, Crawford, everything you do is amazing. So it changed everything in the dynamic, and it's something to consider to help engage everybody in your workforce. Another client recently brought everybody together and went to Publix, and they do these cooking classes at Publix where you can sign up. And it was kind of fun to see everybody working together, because it's powerful to engage your team. At the end of the day, what do they want? Recognition. But what do most of us do? Let's have a pizza party. And what do the disgruntled employees say? Great, what topping are we getting today? So think differently, because people don't quit companies They quit workplace cultures. And that work-life balance is a real thing. I never really understood it when I was a kid. I got my first job. I was in broadcasting in Miami. And I was rejected about 100 different times. And then finally I got a break. And I was willing to do whatever it took. And they paid me the 18 grand and I took it. But today everybody wants to start as a CEO. So create the environment that is best for everyone, because no one's going to be on their deathbed and said, I wish I spent more time at work, right? That's just not what we're going to do. So it comes down to the 4 C's of team building. Commitment. Think about a wedding. Isn't I do the shortest sentence in the English language, but like the longest commitment you'll ever make? So think about commitment. And I was a sportscaster for 5 years, then a news guy. And this story really resonated with me. This is a statue of a baseball player named Pee Wee Reese, who was a shortstop for the Brooklyn Dodgers. And next to him is Jackie Robinson. Pee Wee Reese was from Kentucky, which was right over the border from Ohio, Cincinnati. Jackie Robinson just broke the color barrier. The year was 1947. Pee Wee knew that not all of his teammates wanted him on the team. But he knew the power of team was much bigger than anything. Well, they're on the field, Crosley Field in Cincinnati, and the fans are just yelling the meanest things at Jackie Robinson. Pee Wee Reese walked over to him, engaged him in a conversation, then put his arm around him. Everything stopped. Not only did the epitaphs that were being screamed stopped, but the team came together and they became much stronger. So that's the first C. The second C is concerns. Do you have employees who always have an issue with everything? You know, the glass is half empty. We can all think of that one person who brightens up a room simply by leaving it. There's always that one person. This is my favorite quote for that. Stay away from the negative people. They have a problem for every solution, right? Then there's collaboration. I used to love being a reporter in this area. I was here at Channel 4 from 2002 to 2004, and I got to work with a lot with the Seabees, who are based out of NAS Jax, and they're the Marine unit that goes in and does the construction, and I became really close with them and their families and loved telling all of those stories and learning from them, and we became really close. It's not like today where you're out there just like gotcha media. I came upon this story. Does anybody know who Charles Plumb is? This is about no one doing anything alone. Charles Plumb was a fighter pilot in Vietnam. He flew 75 missions. Then he was shot down. He was a POW for 6 years. He was then released. A few years later, he's walking around at an event, and someone comes over to him and says, "Are you Plumb? You flew off the Kitty Hawk?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You were shot down in Vietnam, right?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Who were you?" He goes, "I packed your parachute." Plumb thought to himself, how many times have I seen this guy? How many times have other people made something possible by working together? And he realized no one does everything alone. So a good rallying cry is to find one for your team. For Plumb, it's who's packing your parachute. But what is it for you to get the most out of your team? Because no one can whistle a symphony alone. So that becomes very powerful, because you're seeing people just jump for the extra 50 cents on the dollar. Then there's communication, the big C. Everybody knows that's a big issue. A little Office Space reference for you. Is your door really open? You know those managers that say, "My door's open," then you come to them and they're like this on their phone. Yeah, that's great. I'm sorry you want to leave. Okay, yeah, terrific. People want the feeling. They want the emotion. Empowered, continued learning, education. Stress that. Team building activities. Go out there and do something with the team. Does anybody know Paul Leone? Does anybody know the name The Breakers Hotel? You've heard of the Breakers. Paul Leone is the general manager. I was having lunch with Paul recently, and I learned something really interesting. He was telling me about everything they did during COVID and how they took care of their employees and they didn't lose anyone. And I said, well, how is that possible? He goes, we do things differently. You see, when we train people, when they're a new hire, they all start. And on the first day, they go to class. On the second day, you know what they all do? They volunteer in the community. They go out and do something. All these different departments, much like FPL and Power to Care, where it brings people together and the collaboration, and it allows people to get to know each other on a deeper level beyond the periphery. Hey, Daryl, great to see you. Great to see you. Okay, what do you know about Daryl? Absolutely nothing. But yet you're spending more time at work than you would anywhere else. So it enhances the camaraderie. Here are some statistics that I found. 25% of that turnover happens in the first 90 days. Wow. 6 out of 10 companies don't set goals for new hires. What do people want? They want the feedback, the love languages. They want that relationship. And only 37% extend it. Because I bet there's a lot of people in your companies that have no idea what the why is, the why of your company and what you do. So then it comes down to presenting your story. How many of you think you're great presenters? How many have a fear of presenting? How many just don't care, right? So, first thing you do is you set the scene. How do you set the scene? You talk about a story, you get engagement. How did I start today? I said, how many of you? I didn't start off with, hi, I'm Corey Saban. Perhaps you recognize me from such stories as. No, you don't care. We're all egocentric. But if you start with an audience engagement part, how many of you, what happens? Say you're eating the peach cobbler and you're having a discussion and all of a sudden everybody's raising their hands, you're looking around, you don't want to be left out. So you raise your hand. That's an engaging way. Another way is with a powerful statistic or an anecdote or a joke, something along those lines, an emotional story. Then say who you are because you've created the emotion. Then there's podiums. Notice I'm not standing back here. Why am I not standing back here? It's a barrier. Plus it leads to bad habits. You do one of these, you get too comfy, and ladies have a tenacity to do this thing where they put the leg behind their other leg, kind of like they're bowling, and it's really hard to do. And then you have the people who just hold on for dear life. This is the barrier. You want to be out here. You want to be seen as trustworthy. Eye contact. Does everybody feel like I touch them, a nice touch, with my eyes? Is there anybody feels like I've not made eye contact with them? What am I doing? I'm using my eyes like a Z. Z is the only letter that allows you to touch everybody with your eyes. I'm not doing the traditional Z this way. I'm going this way. And sometimes I'm going this way. And then you get the nonverbal affirmation. Carol's smiling at me, so I'll smile back. I get a head nod, you give the head nod. If there's that puppy dog look of confusion, you try to help them along the way. One of the big issues is people wonder, what do you do with your hands when you're speaking? The old Ricky Bobby thing. What am I supposed to do with my hands? So what do you do with your hands when you're speaking and telling your story? You don't do this and keep them in this position. We don't go Marine Parade rest. We don't do that. We don't keep them in our pockets because, guys, what do we have in our front pocket? Our keys, and then we jingle. And then you've got some of the ladies that have all the bracelets and it's like Christmas came early. You keep your hands down and then you bring them up. We have this and then we have that. We have we have together. And then you bring them back down. Notice I'm walking and talking. Does it feel uncomfortable for anybody? No. What it does is it allows you to maintain the attention of the audience and look at them and make connections along the way. And it says to you, hey, this guy's pretty relaxed. But for the speaker, it allows you to control your pace because often you'll get the people who are up here speaking way too fast. So the way to slow that down is one thought per sentence. The best way to practice that is reading a children's book. You can't say, one bed was too hard, one was too soft, one was just right, good night, love you. Every other word is a comma. and that controls the pacing. And why that's important is because it allows people to digest what you're saying, because our attention span is 7 seconds. How sad is that? You know, the goldfish has an attention span of 8. It just swims around a little bowl looking at a little castle doing nothing, but it's got a longer attention span. But we're sitting there thinking about our next news alert, what our kids are doing, maybe there's dinner tonight, are we supposed to go to soccer practice? So those are the things that make it more powerful to allow your audience to digest what you're saying. And then before you get up and share your story, it's important that you consider what emotion you want them to feel. Are you motivating the team? Are we trying to emphasize something that happened that's negatively and spin it around? What are you doing? What is the why? Much like Jim got up here, and what did he talk about? Innovation. FPL is all about innovation. They see beyond what's present to what's possible. And that's powerful. That was his why. So think about what it is, because your goal is to get your team together. Then, of course, when you're out doing an event like this, you want to motivate your audience to do something special as well. Then remove the jargon. You know what I love about every chamber and type of thing is everything is in the pipeline. The pipeline is always the pipeline. It's always full, too. Pipeline, no one ever says, you know, how's the pipeline? No, it's terrible, man. You won't believe what's in it. In fact, we got to pump it out. It's full of garbage. No one ever says that. The pipeline's just bursting, always. Remove the jargon. And then when you find your message, be consistent. Many of my friends, when I turned 16, got a car. You know what I got when I was 16? My dad put me in his car, and he drove me to McDonald's. And he said, it's time to get a job. And I said, but Dad, what if they don't hire me? And he goes, well, then we got bigger issues. I said, okay. So he brought me to McDonald's. I got the job, thankfully. And 4 months later, I graduated to make the biscuits. I don't know what that says about me. Maybe I'm slow, maybe I'm fast. I don't know in McDonald's terminology. But I rode my bike there every weekend at 5 a.m. to make the biscuits, Saturday and Sunday. Well, I came in one Saturday. I was up late the night before, had my polyester uniform on and my little paper hat. And the biscuits, if you ever eat anything at McDonald's, they make 4 trays. Each tray yields 24 biscuits. Well, I forgot to cut them before I put them in the oven. 12 minutes later, out came 4 giant biscuits. To my left are all of the wax paper, eggs, and bacon and sausage. So I did what any of you would do. I thought on my feet and just started ripping up the bread and throwing things on there and handing them out like, okay, wasn't very equal. 7:30 in the morning, the general manager, who owned numerous McDonald's, came into the store. He said, were you making the biscuits this morning? And I thought he was going to praise me. Well, yes, I was. He goes, big man, about 6'5", and he said, you single-handedly ruined breakfast. And I thought, whoa, that's a serious head trip for a 16-year-old. And then he fired me. The only job I've ever been fired from. I was terrified to tell my dad, and the next morning at 5 a.m., I got up and rode my bike and just stayed out till like 3 o'clock. And finally broke it to him. But what I learned was consistency is everything. Not only in your messaging, but in everything that you do. In a military town like this, obviously you learn that. You learn the value of doing it over and over and over. It reminds me of John Wooden, the coach of UCLA. Anybody ever know who John Wooden is? Won all these championships. Never really talked to his players about X's and O's. Talked to them about life lessons. One of them was consistency. The first practice, he would have all the guys, whether it's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Walton, whomever it is, take off your socks and your shoes. Today we're going to learn to put them on. What are you talking about? Well, you got to do things right. Pull that sock all the way up. Put that shoe nice and tight. Because we want to be consistent. If you do things sloppy, think you'll get blisters. And his expression was, be quick, but don't hurry. And he taught his people all of these nice life lessons. Agree to disagree, but don't be disagreeable. I know some of you are like, agree to disagree. Or if you don't have time to do it right, when will you find the time to do it over again? So when you're presenting your story, remember the consistency, and then don't be the person who is reading the slides. You know, where you're like, today I'm going to tell you about, this is death by PowerPoint. You don't want that. You don't want to read everything to everybody. And you get a lot of companies that come out with all of this information on there. But our brain can only do one thing at a time. That's it. So if you're going to read to somebody or have something up there that's full of words, say, hey, please take a look. And let it sink in for a couple of seconds. And then highlight a point or two. But no one wants to be, I remember the college professor at Florida State where I went, I had 5 classes, and then the semester, 4 of us on the first day. 4 of the teachers, just let us out. Here's your thesaurus, go. And you're like, awesome. And then the 5th guy's like, let's go through this thesaurus, and read everything to us. Like, man, we're not even in April yet. It's just January, and you're talking about that. So don't read. Then when you're presenting, it's body language. 93% of us make a first impression of somebody before they even spoke. Like right away, you're like, hey, who's the genius wearing a suit at the fairgrounds? You made an impression, and you thought to something. Maybe I like this guy, maybe I don't like this guy, etc. So think about your body language. You don't want to be up here and be the hunchback of Clay County. You don't want to be the guy who's standing like this, right? How do we feel when someone's sitting like this? I will tell you, I was single for many years, and when I went on date with girls who sat like this, I would be like, well, I guess there's no second date. So let the arms down, untangle them. Then make your numbers visual. What do I mean by that? So often if you are numeric centric, you'll focus on the numbers. Numbers don't move us. You have to do it correctly. Like I wouldn't say 70%. Can you visualize that? No, I'd say 7 out of 10 of you. And now it's, which one of us is that going to happen to? 7 out of 10 of you will have blank. It'll be a good thing. We need 1 million tons of sand to refurbish the beach. Can you visualize that? No, it's about 50 dump trucks filled to the top. The odds of that happening are 1 in 54,000, or being the only guy in Yankee Stadium. So whenever you're giving, or as we like to say at FPL, if Florida were a country, it would be larger than Spain. Is that correct? 15th in the world. So whenever you're sharing your numbers, think about that and making them visual. And then it's be consistent. Go above and beyond. Dress for the occasion. Have the attention to detail. The other day I was at a restaurant and the waiter said to me, what would you like? I said, I'll have a hamburger and can I have the fries well done? Like, burn it, man, that's fine. And guess what came out? A hamburger with like really cold, soggy fries. And he goes, how was everything? I said, it's good. Now, I didn't want to complain, but my buddy who ordered the same thing exactly like I did said, the fries weren't done. What did the waiter do? He didn't go back and get new fries. He said, I'm sorry to hear that. And then he hovered over when he gave him the tip thing, and he was like, please hit 25%, please hit 25% in that little machine. Customer service is everything. Does everybody know the story of Joshy the giraffe? Here's loyalty to the brand. Frank and his family were going from Missouri to California. And with them, they brought their son, Mikey. And every night, Mikey slept with Joshy, his pet giraffe. Well, what happened? He left Mikey in the hotel. They get back home to Missouri that night. Mom, Dad, I think I left Joshy. Now, have any of you as parents ever had that happen, where your kid forgot something? Well, sure enough, his dad was quick thinking, and he said, Joshy stayed back at the hotel for a little bit more relaxation, but he'll be home in a couple of days. It's great. What did he do? He called the Ritz-Carlton the next day where he stayed and said, hey, listen, my son, he left his stuffed animal in room blank, blank, blank. And, I joked around with him and said that, the giraffe was staying for a few extra days of relaxation. They said, oh, not a problem, sir. This was the person who answered the phone, not a manager, not a leader, but the team is so empowered to do what is right and to exceed expectations that the person had an idea. And 48 hours, Joshy came back in a box. And when they opened it up, there was all sorts of swag. And then there was a picture of Joshy laying by the pool. And Joshy driving a golf cart. And Joshy laying on a table with 2 cucumbers on his eyes waiting for a massage. And a little pin that said Captain of the Lost and Found. That's brand loyalty. That's the feeling that you want your brand to exude. So your story and your brand go hand in hand, and treat it as if it's a luxury. Even if you're the only guy on the team, act like you've been there. I used to talk to Coach Shula when I was a sportscaster down in Miami, and it was the Shula years, then Jimmy Johnson came over, and I never forget Coach Shula. I was talking to him one day, I said, how come none of the guys spike the football? And he said, because I don't care if it's their first time in the end zone or their 50th, act like you've been there. And that's the same thing. Act like you've been there. And kill it with customer service and kindness, because it's a differentiator and it'll make your brand stand out. Because people will forget what you said and they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. Isn't that true? So with that said, I'd love to open it up to your questions, and thank you so much. Any questions whatsoever? My Insta's over there. If got to be like the kids. My Insta's on the screen.
So Corey will be hanging around.
Yes. Wait.
So one of your slides talked about the numbers slide.
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little more? Sometimes you see slides with 500 numbers, and other times
Hate it.
2, and one's too much, and maybe one doesn't tell the story. So what's your...
So depending on what those numbers are, the 500 numbers, oftentimes you'll see the slide with all the numbers, and what do we all do? We start looking around. I don't know about you. In my head, I start doing math, and I'm not good at it. So that's a challenge. What I would do is use the reveal. So if you have powerful numbers, I'd think about which are the 3 that are most powerful, and then I'd say, boom, 500, and that number represents this, and here's what it means, and here's how we got there. Here's why. Keep it to 3 because we learn in 3s. I came, I saw, I conquered. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. The 3 bears. And then KISS. Keep it simple, silly. Tell the story behind the number. That's why I gave you the visual. The odds of that happening are 1 in 54,000, or being the only guy in Yankee Stadium. Or you can use something like imagine being the only guy in Yankee Stadium. Because anybody who's ever been to Yankee Stadium can imagine it. But notice I didn't use the word think. So if I think about it, you're like, I can't do that. I got work today. But imagine you can go there. Imagine being the only guy in Yankee Stadium. That's the 1 in 54,000. So I hope that helps. You got it. Yes, sir. What is your first name? Jim.
County Commissioner, some of us get a lot of negative phone calls all the time.
Stop it.
How do you deal with, what's your recommendation for dealing with negativity of, the glass is always half empty?
Yeah, those people, the missing tile syndrome. People who go to the Sistine Chapel and say, yeah, it's missing a piece. You know, those people. I'm a big believer in the Chris Voss technique of mirroring what people say. Chris Voss is a former FBI hostage negotiator. And what they do at the FBI is they mirror something. So, for example, I'm holding everybody hostage and I want $15 million. Your first inclination is to say, I don't have $15 million. Why are you holding everybody? You're holding everybody hostage and you want $15 million? Yeah, you heard what I said. So mirror back, because then people will give you more. And what is it? People just want to be heard. Mrs. Johnson, I know you're upset about that, whatever, the tractor that went across your lawn. What is it specifically? Well, it ruined my lawn. It ruined your lawn? Yeah, and I can't believe that happened. Mrs. Johnson, that was a one-off. That doesn't happen all the time. But I'd love to meet with you. I'd love to talk with you. People just want to be heard. The other thing is be aware of reporters because, we're trained in certain ways to manipulate you by asking you hypotheticals or yes or no questions, etc. I could role play that all day long. Yes, sir.
Another thing Jim can do is answer the phone and say, I'm Mike Sullivan.
Or Jim can learn Spanish and just say, okay? Any other questions?
And it's 3 pickles on a Big Mac, not 2, it's 3.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate you coming out today, and thank you. You know, listen, thank you to Crawford and Laura for making this happen, and Jim and Carol from FPL and the whole FPL team for allowing me the opportunity, and thank you for allowing me to share. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. Very good. So I'll do the Corey thing. I think I can speak loud enough and move away from the microphone. So, hey, thank you very much for taking the time to come. I believe Corey will be here for a little while after the luncheon. If you want to walk up and engage, ask questions. He is also available if you would like him to come speak to your company at an event or a function. So we will wholeheartedly endorse him if you guys are interested in engaging with him for that. You're looking at me like I know something, Mark. Not yet. Not yet, I know, right? So, if you would like to see part of this again, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also on our website, you can connect to our YouTube channel. We will post it. There was a little hot button we put on the website the other day. The D.B. Kenyon, who is the general contractor on the IKO project, shingle project, has a real-time camera link that we posted on our website. So if a number of people always ask, hey, how's it going out there? What's going on? Yada, 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 yada. So to put it in perspective, that's about 85 acres they are clearing. If you go to the link on our page, you can link on it, you can see in real time what's going on out at the IKO construction site. We hope to, in the future, when construction begins on the new Shands Bridge, we hope we're also able to post a link to the bridge as it's being constructed also. So just wanted to make you aware of that. Lastly, a couple quick things. I would like to say thank you to some of our new investors to our organization. Wood Development Company, CNH Marine, thank you guys. Scarlet Cybersecurity, back here in the corner over there, thank you greatly. Office Images, Slayman Enterprises, W.D. Gardner, Dana B. Kenyon, and Favor Grade General Contractors. So we have been very active engaging with the community and with the region, and we greatly appreciate that support. With that, thank you very much for coming. We hope you enjoyed the time this afternoon, and we look forward to our next event. Everybody is dismissed.